publication. Yeah, we are able to get, and we got some few very good, nice papers for this conference. So I believe that today's, like yesterday, like today's session also will be an eye opener for many of the budding engineers, even for the experts from academia and industry. So now today we will start the session now, and we'll have presentations one by one. We'll all follow the guidelines as stated by Subodha ma'am, and we'll proceed like that. Okay, so now we can have the first presenter to present their work.
Hi, Subodha. Am I supposed to play the video, share the screen and play the video, or someone else is?
No, Buddhika, we will play it from our side. Yeah, after
Sure,
presentation, yeah, we will ask the question.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing great, as well deserved. Today, I'm going to present you one of the papers that I've developed for my PhD few years ago. The title of this paper is The Impact of Knowledge Leveraging Practices and Internal Business Environment on Businesses' Financial Performance. My supervisors were Professor Prakash J. Singh and the Associate Professor William Ho from the University of Melbourne. First, let me start with the motivation behind this study. Especially in the manufacturing sector, the knowledge leveraging from suppliers and customers impacts the plant's survival, or else the financial performance. Obviously, the internal business environment also has an impact on the manufacturing plant's performance. However, businesses are unclear about which levels of knowledge leveraging from suppliers and customers increase the financial performance, especially in internal uncertain business environments. Therefore, we wanted to explore how do the internal business environmental dimensions and practices of supplier and customer knowledge leveraging impact a business's financial performance. So let's look at the theoretical background. In order to understand the knowledge leveraging practices and their impact on the manufacturing plant's performance, we mainly relied on three theoretical lenses. Resource-based theory explains that businesses get sustainable competitive advantages through their possession of specific resources that are valuable, rare, and difficult to imitate. However, in the operations management area, researchers mostly examine the impacts of imitable practices such as total quality management on business performance, not sustained competitive advantage. Alternatively, the practice-based view recently emerged to test the impact of a certain practice on business performance in a theoretically correct manner. So in this study, we recognize supply and customer knowledge leveraging as two separate imitable practices which influence the plant's financial performance. Further, we mainly rely on the knowledge-based view, which is stemmed out of the resource-based theory, because it elucidates that businesses outperform by mainly possessing relatively scarce resources such as knowledge and technology. So then we integrate these theoretical lenses with the business environment literature. The business environment is mostly characterized by the dimensions of dynamism, munificence, and complexity. Dynamism is the unpredictable change in the environment. Munificence is the resource generosity, and complexity is the heterogeneity and the range of a business's activities. In 1980s, these dimensions were used as antecedents of performance, later on as mediators, but in the recent decades, they are used as moderators to the relationship between business strategies and the performance. So in our study also, we posit these dimensions as moderators to the knowledge leveraging practices and financial performance relationship. These dimensions actually characterize the external environment, but in the recent literature, complexity has been ascribed to the internal business environment. Accordingly, we posit that the dynamism and munificence also epitomize the nature of internal business environment. So we propose new measures for that as well. Based on the existing literature, we propose this conceptual model and 8 hypotheses. So you can see we propose 2 direct positive hypotheses for the knowledge leveraging practices and the financial performance. So let me start with that. The objective of supplier knowledge leveraging is to optimize the supply base by reducing the cost of materials and increasing flexibility and faster cycle time. So obviously it should increase the plant's financial performance. Then the customer knowledge is an important external and new product development. So the customer knowledge leveraging practice focuses on the demand side and must ensure that customers can bring return sales to the manufacturing plant. So it should also increase the financial performance. Then let's look at the environmental dimensions. All 3 dimensions positively moderate the supplier knowledge leveraging and financial performance relationship. So let's start with each dimension. In highly dynamic internal environments, the manufacturing plants want to achieve time compressions in product and process developments, and they are in search for new technologies and innovations. So they mainly rely on the supply base and the supplier knowledge to achieve those targets. So it should further increase the positive association between supply knowledge leveraging and the financial performance. In highly munificent or internal resourceful environments, again, the manufacturing plants want to minimize the wastages in time, cost, and resources. For that also they rely on plants want to keep the quality standards and perhaps promote strategies such as promoting competition and cooperation at the same time, things like that using the supply base. So all of these actions should actually further improve the positive association between supplier knowledge leveraging and the financial performance. On the other hand, all 3 environmental dimensions negatively moderate the customer knowledge leveraging and the financial performance relationship. The main reason for that is the plants have a certain power over the suppliers, but they cannot exercise the power in a corresponding way over the customers at the risk of customers shift into their competitors or rivals. Let's look at these dimensions here. In a highly dynamic environment, the focus of customer knowledge leveraging is to improve the quality and satisfy the customers, which can actually hurt the financial performance unnecessarily. So it can diminish, it can diminish the positive association. Then in munificent environments, that means these manufacturing plants have unique technical knowledge and labor, and they are in a position to satisfy numerous customer requirements. So it is questionable whether the investment made on leveraging of customer knowledge can bring marginal sales and profits to the business. So yeah, it is a question. So in a highly complex environments, also the multiplicity of products, which perhaps with shorter cycle times and inventory levels, offer limited opportunities for leveraging customer knowledge, especially in a very fragmented customer base. Those can actually hurt the positive association between the customer knowledge leveraging and financial performance. So we expect these dimensions to negatively moderate that relationship. In order to examine the proposed hypothesis, we used the 5th edition of the Global Manufacturing Research Group survey. The unit of analysis is the manufacturing plant, and we used 513 manufacturing plants across 9 countries and 21 industrial classifications. We used existing measures for most of the constructs, but we proposed new measures for the internal dynamism and munificence. We performed a hierarchical moderated regression analysis using SPSS and Stata software. We are looking at the measures used for each of the constructs. All of them are on a Likert scale. We also performed an exploratory fact analysis because we had 2 new constructs as well, and we also performed a discriminant validity test and reliability test. All of them satisfy the expectations of the analysis. And this is the descriptive statistics and the correlations table. We transformed all the constructs variables to satisfy the normality conditions, and this is the correlation matrix. You are looking at the final moderated regression output. We ran 4 models here. In the first model, we included only the control variables. In the second model, we added the knowledge leveraging practices. Third model, we added the environmental dimensions to see if there's any direct effect. You can see only the munificence has a direct effect. In model 4, we added the interaction terms, the moderation effects between the knowledge leveraging practices and the environmental dimensions. So this is the final result. Out of the proposed 8 hypotheses, 5 of them are supported. Blue colored ones are the supported ones, and the red colored ones are the unsupported ones. Interestingly, there's no significant relationship between the supply knowledge leveraging and the financial performance, but all the moderation effects associated with the supply knowledge leveraging is significant here. However, the customer knowledge leveraging has a significant positive association with the financial performance. The moderation effect is only evident in internal munificent environment. Right, these are the moderation graphs. And let's look at the key findings. Customer knowledge leveraging increases the financial performance. Only munificence lowers that positive association. Supply knowledge leveraging does not have an individual significant association with the financial performance, but supply knowledge leveraging increases the financial performance in dynamic, munificent, and complex internal environments. Now let's look at the theoretical implications. Right, knowledge leveraging practices, the customer knowledge leveraging practice generally improves business's financial performance by contradicting the some of the existing literature which suggests a non-linear relationship. Secondly, we explored the simultaneous effects of both the supply and customer knowledge leveraging practices on financial performance, which is somewhat absent in the existing literature. In addition to complexity, the other dimensions of dynamism and munificence that can be ascribed to the internal environment also have important implications for the performance. We conceptualized and proposed new items for internal dynamism and munificence. Finally, in the knowledge leveraging process, internal business environmental dimensions are more appealing as moderators than as antecedents of the performance. When it comes to the managerial implications, this study responds to the perceptions businesses had as to what extent to leverage supply chain knowledge without compromising financial rewards. Then customer knowledge leveraging improves the financial performance but diminishes in internally munificent environments. In dynamic, munificent and complex internal environments, supplier knowledge leveraging is helpful to increase the performance. There are no research without limitations. So in this study, we used an existing survey database. In terms of future research, we can use objective data to perform the same analysis and see the differences. Perhaps we can organize a longitudinal study with either a qualitative or quantitative approach to test the proposed model. In conclusion, this study advances the understanding of the influences of internal business environment and knowledge leveraging practices on financial performance of manufacturing plants. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Budiga. That is a wonderful presentation. So, based upon your presentation, I'd like to have a few questions with you for my clarity. Okay. Your suggestions or whatever the ideas given by you, the conclusions given by you, can that be generalized for any organization or any manufacturing organization?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, generally we can generalize because in the analysis we consider 9 countries in different parts of the world, like from Western and South Asia likewise, and plus the data set represents 21 industrial classifications, but of course there could be limitations. That's why I have doubts about not having a significant relationship between supplier knowledge leveraging and the financial performance. Like it could be the fact that maybe it has a significant impact on innovation, and then innovation is a kind of the mediator that affects the financial performance. But generally, I would say, yeah, we can consider it as a general finding for the in the international manufacturing sector. Yeah.
So then my major doubt was like this, when you said 9 countries and 21 things, like the customers are from different geographical location, and they may be
Yes.
from different levels of life. Their financial status may not be the same. Okay.
That's right.
And the supplier organizations may have a different hierarchy, or different types of supplier organizations may be there. Like some may be from a family-owned business, and some may be from an SMEs. So there may be different MSME or maybe there. So so this how do you? That's why I asked the first question. How do you generalize this, right? Because of this financial status. So can you answer this question?
Yeah, that's right. So for that, we control the factors such as the country and industry. yeah, and there was a number of employees, I guess. There was another control variable. That's how we control that effect. But of course, if we had more information in terms of the suppliers also, we could include them, but in the database there were no further information about the suppliers or the customers.
Again, when it comes to the supplier organization, they have different people with different knowledge levels. Like, say for example, I have a casting unit. I need skilled labor than the technically sound. I don't need engineers there, but I need some skilled labor to work on some casting units. But when I say if I want to go for manufacturing some 3D printed components, metal 3D printed some products, then I need some skilled and technically sound labors in that. I mean, employees there, right? So that's my question. Like, why do you need to consider this green parameters? Because sustainability is like picking up like anything. So why didn't you consider in your work about any sustainability or green practices or knowledge on green for the customers and as well as for the supplier?
Yeah, there were some variables related to the green supply chain and sustainability section as well, but it would distract our main focus. The purpose of the research is to understand how well these knowledge leveraging practices can, impact the financial performance. Because in most of the existing literature, we are looking at the knowledge leveraging process and its impact on the innovation and perhaps maybe sustainability as an, in extension. So we wanted to know how we mainly focus on knowledge leveraging and new technologies and all that, but we wanted to know how far they contribute to the actual financial performance. That's the determining factor of the firm's or else manufacturing plant survival. Yeah, that was the reason.
Like last two questions. Okay, when you're explaining about the structural equation modeling, like what you developed using this SPSS, you didn't highlight about the threshold value which you fixed there. Then how you collected the data, whether it's from the experts or from any data. I mean, you told some database. What is the authenticity of the database? This are my two questions related to your work. Then whether this COVID-19 had any impact on your studies. I mean, the time zone, I mean, the time period of your study was not clearly mentioned in this discussion. So can you just clarify these two doubts?
So this is an existing database, prestigious scholars from different universities across countries work together to collect the data. So they basically contact the CEOs or directors, and they are the ones who fill this questionnaire. The data was collected prior to the COVID-19. It was, I think, I'm sorry, I can't actually remember. This was 3 years ago. I guess data was collected in 2015. We didn't, have any, we didn't include any COVID-19.
It's okay. It's okay. Just for my knowledge. Thank you. That's a good presentation.
So
and we can request other professors to ask questions and the participants to ask few questions.
Sure.
Okay, Dr. Jayakrishna, can I ask a small question?
Please, sir.
Yeah, so I have kind of a very similar question that Dr. Jayakrishna already asked. Like, I would like to see some kind of a distribution of this plant, so where it is coming from the world, and I'm just wondering, like, whether it is possible to make some kind of comparison between different part of the world, or whether it is.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Samal. Yeah, of course, we can do like a cluster analysis. The countries were like, from Europe and China, India, USA, likewise. Those are the countries, and likewise. So we can do a kind of a cluster analysis, perhaps considering the countries where most of the manufacturing plants are represented. Thank you so much for raising that. We can consider such an analysis, to back up the main model.
Okay, thank you. Good luck. I'm fine with that.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any questions from the participants? So no questions. If you have questions, I think you can unmute yourself and you can even post in the chat window. Okay, in that case, Ms. Buddhika, thank you for your presentation. Okay, thanks for joining. So next, I would like to welcome Ms. Amini Karunatilake and Anuja Fernando from University of Morotova to present their work on identifying the key influencing factors for the growth of air cargo demand. So I hope Ms. Amani Karunatilake is here. So welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good day to you all. Hope you all are staying safe and healthy. Global economic growth and globalization drive air cargo demand. Today, air cargo drive its vital role in economic expansion with emphasis on developing markets. As a trade facilitator, air cargo operations increases the markets, increases the global reach of industries or businesses, allowing them to bring goods and products to a distant markets in a cost-effective and faster way. Therefore, it is essential to identify the destination which have high air cargo demand for a smooth air cargo operations. So today we are going to identify the key influencing factors for the growth of air cargo demand at a destination. I am Amani Karunatilake, co-authored by Dr. Anuja Fernando, and we are from University of Morotova. So this is the content which I'm going to discuss today. According to the ITA reports, as a share of global output, now the trade is at a 3 times level when it was in early 1950s, and from that more than 40% worth of value cargo are carried by air, and even from that more than 50% volume of cargo are carried by combination carrier as a or the passenger carriers as a belly air cargo. So in 2020, due to the global COVID pandemic, more than 50% of scheduled flights have been cancelled. As a result, passenger revenue has been revenue passenger kilometers has been reduced by 66.8%, and the cargo ton kilometers has been dropped by 11.5%. According to the ITA reports, they are saying that the demand for the air cargo was there, but the lack of capacity led to this reduction. And freighters have been used their maximum capacity, and they have been even increased their capacity by 20% by adding more aircraft to their aircrafts to their air fleet and increasing the number of hours flown. So we can see that air transportation is very essential to sustain the global supply chain, and demand for the air cargo will never die. But most of the passenger airlines don't have strategic plan on air cargo demand at a destination, and most of the strategies are to capture the passenger demand at the destinations. So we can say that we can identify four carriers in the aviation industry: passenger carriers, combi carriers, or cargo carriers, combination aircraft carriers. More decades ago, passenger carriers were served only for passengers, but there was left space where the passengers' luggages were stored. So later, the space was used to carry cargo, and converted those passenger carriers to combination or combi carriers. All cargo carriers are providing only services to air cargo, and combination aircraft carriers are the carriers which has both passenger aircrafts and cargo aircrafts in their air fleets. So this diagram shows how San Francisco Airport has been used carriers to handle their air cargo at the airport. So you can see that over the years, the usage of combined carriers has been increased, and the usage of all cargo carriers has been dropped. And there's no more operations have been happened from combination aircraft carriers up after 2013. So it's very hard to find the research works that have classified the air cargo demand influencing factors according to the carrier types. So therefore, it is very essential to identify the air cargo key influencing factors for the air cargo demand at a destination carrier types. So I have two objectives in my research work: identify the key influencing factors for the growth of air cargo demand at a destination, and rank the identified factors according to the influence level for the growth of air cargo demand at a destination. So first I identify the preliminary factors which affects for the air cargo demand at a destination. Then those identified factors categorized into several groups through a brainstorming sessions with industry experts. And then the questionnaire was developed to collect the data for HP analysis through online. Then the gathered data were analyzed to rank the factors according to the influence level. So as I mentioned earlier, I identified more than 30 factors through the literature review, which previous researchers have been used to have been identified as influencing factors for the growth of air cargo demand at a destination, or which they have been used to develop models to forecast air cargo demand at a destination. So here I have shown you a few of them: population, handling capacity, hub connectivity, for jet fuel price, business activities at a destination. So then it's really hard to rank more than 30 factors at once for the interviewers. So I categorize those identified factors into 7 categories. Those are airport capacities and facilities, airline capacities and facilities, economic factors, market factors, environmental factors, human factors, and aircraft capacities. So here you can see the flow of my FHP analysis. First, I identified the key influencing factors for the growth of air cargo demand at a destination. Then I categorized them into 7 categories and asked the audience to rank according to the influence level for the air cargo demand at a destination. And then I asked audience to rank those categories according to the influence level for the according to the carrier type, according to the carrier type. So these are the outputs of my second step. So most of the interviewers thinking that the factors under airport capacities and facilities will highly affect for the air cargo demand at a destination. And secondly, second place has taken by the factors under airline capacities and facilities. And third place has taken from by the factors under economic factor category. So after I rank the influence level of these categories, then I ask them to rank according to the influence level on carrier type, cargo carrier type. So you can see that the air cargo which are carrying carriers will highly highly affected from these factors. By improving these factors, we can increase the air cargo demand which are carrying from combi carriers at a destination. So the obtained consistency ratio of my research work is 8.68. So it's less than 10%. So the finding of my research work will be acceptable. So from my research work, finally I can conclude that the influencing factors under airport capacities and facilities will highly affect for the air cargo demand at a destination. And those factors are like terminal facilities, airport competition, the number of flights that can be handled at the airport, and quality of service of the ground, quality of service of at the airport, and ground handling capacity are the factors under this category. And the airline capacities and facilities, economic factors, market factor categories are identified as second, third, and fourth place. So these derived factors can assist in assignment of flight scheduling, route development, and facility improvements of an airport and an airline. And also this study concludes that these factors will highly affect for the air cargo which are carried by combi carriers compared to all cargo carriers. And also, of course, combi carriers have the high competition level compared to all cargo carriers. And almost most of the air cargo handled in Sri Lanka are handled by combi carriers. There are two types of combi carriers can be identified: full service network carriers and low cost carriers. Sri Lankan Airlines, Fly Dubai, Emirates are some examples for them. So these carriers will be benefited from the improvement, will be benefited from the findings of my research work. They can use this output to improve their strategies and route networks. Finally, the outputs of my research work will be highly based on the expertise which I selected for my interview. So almost all the interviewers are from Sri Lankan context. So that my output will be subjected to their experience level on global and local practices. So I can further, as a future work, or I can improve my outputs from this. I can improve the outputs of my research work if I can get the experience, the idea from the out of the Sri Lanka. So if I were able to contact them, I can improve and generalize the output of my I can generalize the output of my research work. And that's it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Amani. Like we had, you studied the factors, key factors. Okay, am I audible?
Yes,
am I audible?
Yeah, Professor.
Thank you. Yeah. So you studied this strategies, which or what do you call the 7 factors, which is for strategies in the air cargo transportation. So initially you told us that 30 factors were collected from literatures and from other sources, and how you reduced it to 7.
I conducted a brainstorming session with industry expertise, and I didn't remove those factors. I categorized those 30 factors into 7 categories. And one is from.
So that means you had some enablers, and so to satisfy that enablers, you have some criteria, like criteria and sub-criteria you had. Yeah, but you didn't show us the sub-criteria, rather you went only with the criteria.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I included in the paper, but I.
Okay. Expert of the research showed us, right?
Okay, okay.
So
sure.
I have only one question for you. Why
Okay,
you
sir.
went with AHP? I know AHP is a very good MCDM approach, but why you went only with AHP? Is there any specific reason?
No, sir, because I couldn't meet the people because this pandemic I ran. I only could chance to get their online research work to get their opinion get their opinion, because, and also that there wasn't any previous researchers on how the factors can be categorized into according to the career type. So basically, I'm getting the ideas from industry expertise. So it's really hard to get a quantity value for their opinion. So to get a quantity value, so the best method is, I thought that HP would be the best option. So that's why I went for that analysis.
What scale you used for AHP, whether it's a linked scale or whether you used any fuzzy logic scale?
Linked scale.
Okay, good. Okay, see, yeah, I will tell you the main disadvantages of using AHP.
Okay, sir.
So if you can take any number of papers published in AHP, whatever the factor, I mean, in your case, the criteria, whatever the criteria you set as the first criteria will be the most influencing. I mean, that will be the ranked first.
The airport capacity.
Yeah, like you mentioned, airline capacity or the airport capacity.
Yes.
Okay, but you just think about this. Okay, if you set airline capacity as the first criteria instead of airport capacity, then airline capacity will be selected as the best first will be ranked number 1.
Yes, sir.
So whatever the criteria you set as the first criteria will be ranked number 1 in AHP. I don't know the reason.
Sorry, sir, I didn't get your question, sir.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Say A, B, C, D is the arrangement of your criteria in the AHP. I mean the list of alternatives. The alternatives means that the items which you are going to rank. You are named A, B, C, D.
Yes, sir.
It can be anything. Okay. Whatever you set as A will be ranked number 1.
You are asking my opinion?
No. It's general. It's general. That's why people are not using AHP. AHP most of the times nowadays it's avoided because we know that whatever the alternate or the criteria we set as number 1 criteria will be selected as the first one. Yes. Will be ranked number 1. You remove airline. I mean, in your case, what is the first criteria which was ranked number 1?
Airport capacity.
If you remove airport capacity and replace that with airline capacity, that will be selected as first one.
Yes, sir.
You do any number of iterations or calculations, that will be selected as number 1.
Yes, sir.
That is the disadvantages of AHP. I don't know the mathematical reason behind that. You have to find out.
Yes, sir. That's why I finally, at the end of my research work, told that the findings of my research work will be mainly based on the experience.
So my suggestion is, I mean, we're done with AHP. You can also try with some other ranking, like FASIL or Vicar or Topsys. Like that, you can try with some other MCDM tools also. The same study. I mean, the factors are good. You have a very good number of factors, but you can also go with other MCDM techniques and explore. And you can even do a comparative study with AHP and other ranking techniques.
Okay, sir. Sure. Thank you very much, sir. I will.
Thank you. Sorry, it took a long time. Over to Professor Kamal.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you. So like I have a very kind of a close question regarding the HP, right? So you have used HP. So like, it's highly influential with the like the your selected expertise, right? So what I would like to see in your presentation, like who are those expertise? I mean, which fields, whether their expertness has influence or bias on your results,
Yes.
right? So
But I have the numbers. So most of the 7% of the industry expertise are from airline industry. Actually, most of them are from Sri Lankan airline, and I have few from freight forward companies from DHL and FedEx, and and also I got the chance to connect with from the airport operation, one expertise from airport management, and also and the few are from academia.
yeah,
More than 70% are from airline industry actually, in Sri Lanka, from Sri Lankan Airlines.
yeah. So maybe you can maybe like you can draw a plot and see whether how
Yes,
they
yes.
rank it, right? So that ranking, as Dr. Jayakrishna correctly said, those ranking directly influence with your HP results, right? So maybe
Yes.
I
Actually,
agree
I
with
can
that.
draw that.
I agree with that, Dr. Jayakrishna, and maybe you can compare us with something else, and then you can come up with, what is the best or some sort of that. Yeah, okay. So good luck for your future career. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for your suggestions, sir.
Thank you. Okay, so any questions from audience side? We have any questions? Audience, you can even post in the other participants can even post in the chat box. Professor, I mean, Amini will be able to answer this in the chat window also, right? Okay, we need some healthy discussions from the participant side also. Okay, okay. Then next we'll be calling upon Janapriya Jayawardene from University of Paradania, Malinda Sandanaike from Victoria University, Melbourne, and Professor Zhang from RMIT, Australia. And then we have Jay Singh from University of Paradania. I welcome these participants to present their work on importance of logistics in off-site construction in Sri Lanka. So over to you. We have Janapriya here for the presentation. Mr. Janapriya, you can start.
Welcome all of you to the abstract presentation in ICLSE 2021, submission ID 54, titled Importance of Logistics in Offsite Construction in Sri Lanka. Presenter is Janapriya Jayawardene, a research student in University of Peradeniya and RMIT University, Australia. The presentation will be breaking down into following sub-elements. Some critical factors such as human population growth and rapid globalization is creating a continuous growing demand for construction industry. So in the world context, construction industry has some significant environmental issues. For example, throughout the life cycle of the building, they account for 30 to 40% of energy use and high amount of CO2 emissions, natural resource consumption, and waste generation as well. So the potential and feasible remedy in the present situation is shifting from conventional construction to modern methods of construction, or we can interchangeably call as green construction, as offsite construction and construction. So this continuous and significant research is required in these fields, particularly developing economics. So offsite construction is one of the modern method of construction. So it manufactures, produces integrated modular components in an offsite manufacturing facility, then transported to the on-site, and then erects, assembles this component in the construction site itself. So it offers a wide range of benefits, from reduced overall construction cost and time to environmental savings in carbon emissions and energy. So modular construction is one of the most advanced and efficient OSC method. So if we consider the supply chain or the process stages of this typical OSC process, see that raw material transportation and prefabricated module transportation phases contributing significantly to the logistics stages. SFO handling in on-site and off-site facilities. If we consider the adoption status, as a developing country, Sri Lanka is still lagging behind in adopting OSC technologies compared to other developed countries. And however, there's a growing number of construction organizations that currently working on pilot OSC projects on implementing them. So if we consider the critical causes for this adoption or no adoption, so we can see that complexities and high costs associated with transportation is one of the main critical issue in this context. So significance of the study. So as a country developing economy, we need to conduct more environmental assessments such as LCAs to evaluate the environmental sustainability in Sri Lankan offsite construction industry. Also identifying the general limitations, issues, and opportunities in Sri Lankan logistics also very important. Aim is to promote the modern methods of construction and sustainable construction methods in the Sri Lankan construction industry. So the objectives focusing on aim is to conduct a pilot case study to calculate carbon emissions, the transportation basis of traditional building compared to hypothetical prefabricated building. And second is to investigate the current status of the logistics of offsite construction in Sri Lanka. If we go to the methodology, the traditional building is in Sri Lanka, and the prefabricated building is a hypothetical one, extrapolated using the prefabrication rates from a Chinese study. So the main methodology followed is life cycle assessment. So the goal is to evaluate the GHGs of the transportation of these two construction methods, and system boundaries, the transportation phases of these two construction methods. The unit of analysis is in material level, and the functional unit is construction flow area. Life cycle inventory is based upon the bill of quantities and the drawings of the selected case study, and using the real literature, reports, and international authorized organization reports and all. So the impact assessment is conducted using CIMA Pro 8.3, and the characterization method followed is GWP, IPCC 2013 GWP. This site presents some of the basic details of this traditional building and the hypothetical prefabricated building, as well as the life cycle inventory, the materials and the resources, and the distances calculated from material supplies to these two construction buildings to the traditional building as well as hypothetical prefabricated building. So that this analysis done in Singapore shows that transportation emissions, so the GHG emissions of transportation of traditional building is 30.29 ton carbon dioxide equivalent, whereas this hypothetical prefabricated building is 12.42 in the same units. In the context of total emissions, so the TB is 466.001, and where PHP is 461.91. So this is a rough estimation because of the hypothetical nature. However, it shows that roughly PHP is performing better in transportation emissions as well as if you can see the total emissions. So sensitivity analysis was conducted to investigate the effect of distance between the construction site and the prefabrication factory. So the distance was changed from 10 kilometers to 50 kilometers by 10-minute intervals. So it kind of indicates that the effect of GHG emissions by the additional distance to cover has less effect on the total GHG emissions. So in the literature as well as in this pilot case study show that there's high potential for reducing carbon emissions as well as other benefits in adapting OSC practices. So in this conclusion, it's very important to explore on the logistics of current status of logistics in Sri Lankan context. So major issues or the limitations found in logistics of OSC in Sri Lanka is in transportation. So this prefabricated component weight and dimensions are limited by the transportation routes and methods. So due to difficulties in narrowly accessible areas and these regulations in road and traffic and this trailer and vehicle requirements, so the demand for this one and cost issues. So this incompatibility, complexity, and this high cost are the major hindrances resulted from these issues. And also these vehicle vibrations due to the inconsistencies or irregularities in the road surfaces can cause some damages to the components as well. So the second factor is handling on site. So these prefabricated components weight is limited by the capacities of these cranes and forklifts, and also the limitations in the space and this warehouse storage in construction sites. And also data availability issue is a very concerning one. To conduct environmental assessments comprehensively and systematically. So there's a gap in accurate data on construction logistic flows, as well as there's a huge lack of national level life cycle data to conduct these sustainability assessments. So if we consider the fourth issue, this government support rules and regulations. So this lack of technical guidance and innovations from government and other government organizations, and the lack and inaccuracies of policies and regulations to guide and regulate and support the OSC industry in Sri Lanka. So if we consider the opportunities, so this the use of this just-in-time delivery policy can enhance the effectiveness, indirectly reducing the carbon emissions as well. So incentives and rewards to promote this adoption of this prefabrication as well as increasing the rates of prefabrication will indirectly give some supporting high initial costs and as well as costs related to logistics. So the conclusions from findings should be derived with care. Also the hypothetical nature of the comparison here. So if we consider the limitations, so the emissions from transportation phases only considers and discarded the emissions from other logistic activities like handling and lifting activities inside on-site and off-site construction. So and there are no continuous references to support the elements that has been presented in the logistic status or the current status of logistics in OSC. So the future research suggestions, so future research can focus on conducting this comparative analysis with actual prefabricated case studies, and moreover they can extend the assessment to other impacts from logistics as noise disturbances, traffic, and costs in logistics. And also it's a good suggestions to conduct these structured and systematic surveys for identifying these logistic aspects, these limitations, issues, and opportunities in Sri Lanka. These are the references. And thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Chanapriya, thanks for your presentation. Let me now ask Professor Lisa De Silva to ask some questions from this presentation to start with?
Yes, Dr. Jai Krishna. So, first of all, let me thank the presenter for the nice presentation. I of course have two questions. One is about the data availability issue that you mentioned. So,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
yeah. So, how do you overcome from this issue, and do you have any suggestions like how we can improve the situation in Sri Lanka? And my second question is about the application of JIT system in Sri Lanka. So do you can you explain like the applicability of JIT system in Sri Lankan context? How practicable and possible to apply the system in Sri Lankan context?
Okay, madam. So for the first question, I I know that this NIPC, National Kidney Production in Sri Lanka, collaborated with this University of Peradeniya, especially in Faculty of Engineering. There's some initiatives that has been taken for this conducting and LCS all out the industries in Sri Lanka. So in the aim of making national level life cycle inventory. So I think it's started 3 to 4 years ago. The manufacturing department in Faculty of Engineering is also part of that. So I think as an initiative is going well, but still I think there's a long way to go. So I think mainly in dissemination of these results. So we are conducting case studies. I feel still we don't have a common platform to disseminate these results. So it will go to the industry or these relevant stakeholders. So otherwise, we are conducting case studies, but still these results or the conclusions or the suggestions are still not conveying to the relevant stakeholders not effectively. So that's an issue we can address in the future. That initiative wise, I think we have working on that this NIPC and University of Peradeniya in that matter. Also, I am thinking other universities also participating for that purpose. So for the second question, so the JIT policy, like so still if we consider the modular construction, so we know that there are few types of offsite construction, precast construction, and mainly modular construction. So in Sri Lanka, still modular construction is not very applied. Still in this panel construction. So still not shifted to volumetric or this 3D construction. So if we're going to talk about this logistics also, there are no much published studies in that case. And also in this case, this research, the research I am doing is mainly focused on the overall sustainability, environmental, economic, and social. So this is kind of an experiment that is it worth pursuing in this logistic aspect, considering this logistic aspect. So is it worth to do specific analysis or do more case studies on this logistic wise? So should we look at in a macroscopic level or a microscopic level? So that is an input actually I will be expecting from experts as well. Considering JIT policy, I think there are so many barricades or these hindrances from Sri Lankan in economic perspective as well, and also these same typical issues mentioned in these logistic aspects of Sri Lanka, this transportation issues, this resource allocation, and the funding we have. So these barricades influence the application of the JIT policy. So I think practically it will be a very hard, and so we should start doing more adapting these practices. Then we should consider about applying JIT policy. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much, and good luck for your study. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Janapriyan. I have a couple of questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Just as a refreshing thing, right? So can you explain why life cycle analysis is necessary to compare prefabricated structures and this traditional construction method? Why LCA is required for this study?
Okay, so yeah, so let's say like when we are shifting from conventional construction to prefabricated construction, so one of the main issues is initial high cost. So most of the organizations, so like especially in developing economies, they are reluctant to shift into these like industrialized construction methods due to this high initial cost. So it's like kind of a motivational aspect also there. Like if we can do assessments and if we can identify that in terms of environmental sustainability, there's much potential in these industrialized methods, at least in the long term. So like we can sometimes these environmental regulations or these environmental standards can give some regulatory advices that they can apply or give some pressure to apply or adapt these technologies. So in the long term, it has more benefits in the technology wise as well as in this environmental sustainability wise. I think that's one of the main aspect of this.
Okay, thank you. Why I asked this question is because don't mistake me, because what
Yes.
happens in traditional construction, like we have a lot of buildings, including your University of Pennsylvania, which was constructed 100 years ago. Still, the life of the buildings are very good.
Yes. Yeah.
That is sustainability in the
Yeah.
long run.
Yeah.
Okay, when you go for prefabricated structures, so even in India, we have a lot of, even in VIT, we have a prefabricated structure building. We had one building last year. Just before this COVID lockdown, we have constructed one building. But if you personally ask me, I don't believe that this prefabricated structure buildings have a very good lifetime durability. Okay.
Yes, I also have seen some examples like there are some negative feedbacks on this modular
Yes.
construction, especially in these container-based ones, like these temporary modular.
Temporary buildings. So
Yes.
that's what, even in in India we have a Tata has come with Tata Homes, where they're constructing buildings, prefabricated buildings using steel structures for the joints and everything. And when you compare the cost of constructing a house, a normal 2 BHK house, it's there even in the website it is listed that it costs more than 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs somewhere in Indian money to when you compare this prefabricated structure buildings and this traditional buildings. So cost wise, people are not preferring this, as well as for the long run, it is not good for the durability point of view. But I believe that this prefabricated structures, as you rightly point out, is only for this temporary settlements or people where we are based on a geographical location, like whether where we have a lot of earthquake or any natural disasters are there, continuous disasters are there. People can go for this prefabricated structure. And especially for if I'm going to consider a school where I have a lot of kids there, I don't want it to be considered using a prefabricated structures, because we are still have a doubt in our mind. Okay,
Yeah,
so that's right. But in sustainability point of view, when you're moving, if you're in Kandi and you want to move to somewhere near Galley, and you can just have this free brackets that dismantle for deconstruction and reconstruction. Deconstruction and reconstruction, you can use this prefabricated structures. But otherwise, it's a very good work, because anyway, transportation is there when you construct a house in a traditional way or when you construct a prefabricated structure. Logistics is going to be there. Only thing is that distance which is going to travel is going to be varied. Okay, that's why I asked this question, whether LCA is necessary for prefabricated and this, because both logistics are there. For both requires raw materials. For both, you need to do the transportation. The amount of energy spent is going to be equal, but comparatively less in prefabricated structure when it comes to energy consumption. Okay, so that's it. So thank you. Just to clarify, this is not a question session. The questions I had, it's a discussion to know your state. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So Professor
Thanks.
Samal, do you have any questions for this Professor Janapriyan?
I'm okay. Maybe we can move forward with the time. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So in that case,
Yes, sir.
Janapriyan, any other questions from audience participants? Okay, that's good. No, when no one asks questions, it's good for during the technical question sections. People, you can ask some questions, please, to make it more interactive. Okay. So next we have Nuwan Ilagavata, Prasanna Ilangovan, Prasanna Ilangovan sir, and Professor Asela from University of Pardania to present their work on refined asset management strategy for turbine selection of coal-fired power plant, a case study of Lakvijaya power plant, Sri Lanka. Can we have Nuwan? Do you have Nuwan here to present their work?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Yeah, thank you.
Good morning. I'm Nuwan Ilagavata from University of Pardania. So it is a great privilege to present our research works in this conference as well as authors. Under the supervision of Dr. Asela and Dr. Prasanna Ilangovan, this research work was carried out as a mandatory requirement for the Master of Science of Engineering Management at University of Pardania. Nowadays, asset management is widely spread area by studying various industries, particularly mainstreams like transport, logistics, power generation, oil and gas, etc. This research work is a case study of to develop refined asset management strategy for the turbine section of coal-fired Lakvijaya power plant in Sri Lanka. So why reliable power supply is important? When it comes to the power supply in modern society, it is very much important to have the reliable power supply because most of modern lifestyles of our human being are dependent on the electricity. That means to meet daily requirements of public as an essential utility. In addition to that, electricity is a major requirement from manufacturing to utilization of any product or service. Further to that, electricity is a key requirement for different services like transport, logistics and supply chain, medicine, education, entertainment, etc. So therefore, assets related to electric power generation and distribution are to be managed for higher reliability of the supply. Therefore, the asset management power generation is very much vital in this case. So when we move to the case study of Lakvijaya power plant, it was found that there are many unscheduled breakdowns in Lakvijaya power plant from 2018 to 2020. So as you can see here, it was about 40% the total unexpected breakdowns are from unit 1 and 33% of the same from unit 2 and the remaining 27% is from unit 3. So Lakvijaya power plant is one of the major power plant in Sri Lanka, which provides about 900 megawatt base load to the national grid of the island. Lakvijaya power plant consists of 300 megawatt units and all of them are coal-fired. Further, it was studied about past failures and we found that the total number of loose generation hours are about 5,600%. The loss to the Ceylon electricity board is about 15.5 billion Sri Lankan rupees. So after that, further investigation was carried out with major systems and their failures. During this investigation, we were able to find out that the turbine section has the most unexpected breakdowns during this particular period, 2018-2020. So this is illustrated in this graph. So when we move to the whole system, it is difficult to study all these major systems and subsystems because when it comes to the qualified power plant, it consists of hundreds of assets and it is difficult to study all these things. Therefore, it is essential to reduce the study boundary or narrow down the study boundary, and for that, the failure mode and effect analysis was used because the failure mode and effect analysis is a successful methodology to identify the most important system among all available systems. So in this case, the importance of the system and the frequency of failures, as well as the ability to detect certain failure are considered. So the impact of such a failure is represented as shown in this equation. So similarly, the FMEA was done for the Lakvijaya power plant as well. So the results was like this, and in this, from this results also we found that the turbine section has mostly become the more critical than others. So this photograph shows the actual photograph of the turbine of Unit 2 at Lakvijaya power plant. Though this shows a single turbine, the turbine section consists of several subsystems, as shown here. Main cooling water system, open cycle and closed cycle, low boil system, seal oil system, check-in oil, condenser, bypass, turbine proper, electrohydraulic system, vacuum system, and also the feed water system. So before we move to the asset management strategy selection, it is essential to study about the existing asset management strategies because as I explained earlier, nowadays most of technical community have moved to the asset management to develop for the betterment of the industries. So asset management has two major categories called first level and second level. First level asset management strategies are actually not like a simple maintenance methods. It's kind of policies. These policies are, there are three major policies called risk-based management, total productive maintenance, and reliability-centered maintenance. When we move to the second level asset management strategies, we can categorize the second level asset management strategies into two major branches called corrective and preventive maintenance. Under corrective maintenance, there are two other branches, and deferred corrective maintenance, immediate corrective maintenance. That means that the corrective actions are taken after the certain time period is called as deferred corrective maintenance, and when the corrective actions are taken at very at the very big, the immediate situation is called as immediate corrective maintenance. When it comes to preventive maintenance, there are various second level asset management methods as shown here. Condition-based maintenance, utilized time-based maintenance, fixed time-based maintenance, opportunity maintenance, prescriptive maintenance, predictive maintenance, fault finding maintenance, design out maintenance, etc. So in our case also, we consider these second level asset management methods together with first level asset management strategies. So in order to develop asset management strategy for the turbine section of Lakvijaya power plant, it is essential to consider key attributes of these asset management methods. So we consider the technical, operational, financial, and other key attributes as shown in here. The required level of knowledge, how much experience is available with the human factor, which type of special tools and equipment are required to develop asset management strategy, availability of spare parts, design lifetime of the system, existing redundancy, required operational limitations, required outage time, experience failure rates of the system, complete running hours, and also the impact of the outage, how much time is expected to restore, the expected cost for the restoring, the required level of training, the employee resistance, like that. So after that, with these key attributes, two matrices were developed for each subsystem as well as each asset management methods as shown in here. So these the matrices were weighted based on the real-time experiences, expert opinions, as well as the basics of asset management. However, when it comes to these matrices, obviously there should be a deviation. So in order to find out the most suitable asset management strategy for this turbine section, it is required to calculate the deviation. For this calculation, the root mean square deviation was used as a tool, and which is equal to the square roots of this one. And here the mu represents the mean value of the whole data set. So the RMSD values were calculated as shown here, and the minimum RMSD value was taken into the considerations for the selection of the asset management strategy for the particular system. So based on the results obtained from this RMSD calculation, as well as the developed two matrices for each subsystem, we were able to find out suggest actually appropriate asset management strategies for each subsystem as shown in here. For example, for polymer system, the researcher's opinion and expert's opinion, fixed time based maintenance, and here also same similar deferred corrective maintenance, like that. The turbine profile also same like that. However, based on past failure records, mean time between failures were calculated for all the subsystems. And also, with the expert's opinion, it is possible to accept the obtained results for each subsystem except these four subsystems, because these four subsystems have higher MTBF, mean time between failures, and therefore a focus group interview was carried out to find out the most suitable asset management strategies for these four subsystems. During that the focus group interview, it was found that most of actually all experts explain that the subsystem should be further considered with the sub-level, that means the maybe equipment or item. So accordingly, they propose to have this type of asset management strategies for each subsystem. So here the turbine proposal, they have proposed to have this type of asset management strategies, and here electrical system and feedback system. With this to obtain results, the next step should be the implementation of this outcome to the actual situation of Lakvijaya power plant. Actually, there's a possibility of having outcomes of short-term implementation within certain time period for instant implementations of the condition-based maintenance and predictive maintenance and prescriptive maintenance with the existing resources or facilities in Lakvijaya power plant. So after implementing all these asset management strategies for particular subsystems, it is possible to get actual outcome and validate the suggested asset management strategies. Finally, it is recommended to develop similar refined asset management strategies for other subsystems, for instance, boiler, electrical, generator, ESP, FGD, etc., for higher reliable operation of the Lakvijaya power plant. So these are the references to this presentation, and I take this as an opportunity to give my thanks to my supervisors, Dr. Lanka and Dr. ICLSE for giving their assistance to carry out this research work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mohan. Quite interesting presentation on asset management for power plant to select the turbines. So I have a couple of questions for you. So you didn't mention about the asset management ISO model, ISO 55,000. Is there no for asset management? Have you focused on that? Have you included those ideas in your work?
Yes, actually, during the literature studies, I went through that ISO as well as the SAE, the SAE 1101 policy for the reliability centered maintenance. So those things were considered during the study, but not included in the presentation.
Okay. Okay. So the risk priority number, you named it as impact.
Yes.
Right, the risk priority number. So how are you, I mean, before doing this FME analysis, the failure mode effective analysis, have you done any preliminary studies before doing that FMEA, or directly you visited the plant and you took the feedback, or you took the reasons for failure, or whether you conducted any fishbone diagram, like some preliminary works like that?
Yes, actually, I'm working at the Lakvijaya power plant, so I have the access to the past data. So therefore, I was able to get the past failure records, and based on those data, I carried out a preliminary analysis regarding what has happened during past 3 years. So based on those things, and actually use the Pareto charts and some fishbone diagrams to identify the which system to be considered. I mean, there are a couple of major systems, as I explained in the presentation, mainly a turbine, boiler, electrical systems, and generator, FGD, ESP, those things were considered. And after that, actually, I discussed with my supervisors and considered to carry out the analysis to turbine section.
Okay, good. So this is nice work. Over to Professor Samal and Professor Lisa De Silva.
Yeah, so, shall I start with my question?
Yes, Lisa.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please, ma'am.
yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Yes. I also have one question regarding your methodology of the study. Can you explain how did you conduct the focus group study and who are the participants of your focus group study?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, as I told earlier, I'm working at the Lakvijaya power plant. So I preliminary I used the about 20 persons from the Lakvijaya power plant, from the supervisory level to the senior management, including engineers and the chief engineers. So based on their opinion, I developed the two matrices. Right. So after that, the outcomes of the matrices were discussed with those experts, and accordingly, most of outcomes were accepted for each subsystem as shown in the presentation. And for four subsystems, they were actually explained that it has to be further discussed or further studied. So therefore, selected focus group was considered, and in that focus group, it was about the people who are working in the qualified power plant, actually in the Lakvijaya power plant, for about 8 to 10 years, who are having the experience, particularly in the turbine section. So their opinion was considered for the further study or the focus group interview.
All right. So how did you analyze the information that you gathered in the focus group study?
Yeah, actually, madam, it was about 10 people. So therefore, I was not in a position to, go for some statistical method. So it was actually kind of qualitative analysis, and use the view, and based on those things, those opinion, I got the results or the outcome for each subsystem.
Right. So did you use any instrument like interview guide to ask questions from them? Or
yeah, interview guide. Actually, from the literature, I found that some interview guide to carry out some focus group interview, and based on those things, appropriate questions were prepared. And each and every person were actually, during that pandemic situation, I was carried out this interview, and it was actually a telephone conversation and face-to-face interview.
All right. What sort of questions like that you used in your study? Because this is for my clarification. I'm asking. Kind of like close-ended questions or kind of like open-ended questions. So how was the study carried out?
Yeah, ma'am. Let me a second to explain about that one. Because I had that question here. Yeah, ma'am. I actually the question from them about the do they satisfy with the existing asset management strategy or asset management method which have been used in the particular subsystem, and which type of things to be included, and what are their opinion to have more reliable operation of each subsystem. That means to have the, when it comes to the power plant, the availability and reliability are very important factors. So therefore, I question mainly about these two things. And during that focus group interview, they explained that it has to be considered item wise or the equipment wise, because when it comes to the subsystem, like the cooling water system, it consists of different kinds of pumps, motors, and valves and pipelines, etc. So what their opinion was, the having a kind of a simple asset management strategy for whole subsystem is not useful unless we are going for further equipment or item wise. So in addition to that, I question about how they are going to improve the reliability or the operation, the reliable operation of the plant using their opinion. So those things were questioned, and some the answers were got from those people, actually the experts, and those were summarized, and after that the results were obtained as shown in the presentation.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you, ma'am.
yeah, good luck for your studies and good
Thank you very much, ma'am.
presentation.
Yes, so Nuan, I hope you can hear me, right? So
Yes, sir.
yeah, so while waiting for your outcomes in the future, right? So hope that we will not be in the dark. So since
Yeah.
since you were since you were working in there, right?
Yeah.
I just like to know about you showed that some of the failures in the past years, right? So
Yeah.
so may I know that how severe those failures? Do you have any categorization based on cost or recovery time or whatever like that?
Yes, sir. Actually, in this case, the considered failures are which the led to have shutdowns. That
Okay.
means total shutdowns. But there are some failures which led to have partial shutdown and partial load, and sometimes some the house load. That means about 10% of the total load, like that. But in this case, I considered about the total shutdowns.
Okay, so based on that, you selected to study on the
Yeah,
turbine, right?
yeah, yes.
Okay, okay. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, I'd end up with one more question. Have you
Yes, sir.
considered any predictive maintenance strategies in your work? Meaning, or at least if not in future, you can consider that predictive maintenance.
Yeah, actually, sir, predictive maintenance was also carried out because in this case, predictive means as per the analysis carried out with the experts and the focus group interview, they also explained that it has to be the kind of the methods to predict the operation as well as the coming failures of each subsystem. So accordingly, it has to be developed the predictive maintenance strategies for the appropriate subsystems as well.
Okay, good. Thank you for your presentation, Nuwan.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations and for your future research work in this same field.
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks for joining. Next
Thank
we
you very
have next we are going to have Mr. Prashan Bandara Vijay Singh and Prasanna Ilangovan from University of Pardania to discuss on the systematic approach to improve the overall equipment efficiency of the shredder system. I hope we have Mr. Prashan Bandara Vijay Singh here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Prashant Vijay Singh from Faculty of Engineering, University of Pardania. I'm really happy and lucky to be part of this beautiful platform for researchers. Today I'm presenting my research systematic approach to improve the overall equipment effectiveness of the shredder system. My co-author is Dr. Prasanna Ilangovan, a lecturer from Faculty of Engineering of Pardania. This study was collaborated with a waste management company which supply alternative for the cement plant in Sri Lanka. This research was done for the shredder system which used to produce a shredded material from industrial waste like textile, paper, plastic, and polythene, etc. There was a high demand for the alternative fuel in the cement plant, more than 120 tons per day. Actually, they need alternative fuel to reduce the coal consumption as well as reduce energy cost. Also, this will hit their total clinker production cost and the final to the cement production cost. Also, they more prefer to substitute alternative fuel instead of the traditional coal. Shredder system designed to give 8 tons per hour as output. But due to the several issues in the availability and the performance, ultimately the shredder system had less OE around 49%. So this loss in OE cost to provide less alternative for the cement plant. When consider the shredder system, it has a main 6 steps. For this study, we only consider the first 4 steps. Here you can see in this graph, the system has 2 stages of shedding. Pre-shredding and the secondary shredding. Also, in this study, we didn't consider the quality component in OE and assume it as 100%. Now, when consider the shredder production quality, the shredder material size is its production quality. when consider the kiln feeding, the shedder material size changes not considered that much. So here we can assume the quality of the shedder production always 100% for the OE calculation. Okay, when it goes to the aim and the objective, the improving of the shedder system and the OE to maximize the production outputs, the aim of this research. Here we have three major objectives: the collecting and analyzing the availability of the performance data from 2018-2019 to understand the losses in the shedder system, investigating the root causes for the major issues of the losses in the shedder system, availability and the performance, determine the solution to address the main root causes, and implement the selected countermeasures are the objective of the research. We have following steps as a methodology in this study. First, we collected data from the shedder system from 2018-2019 using the operation and maintenance logs, also by doing some interviews and discussion with the operation team as well as the third-party team. Also, then using those data, analyze what are the issues for this inefficient or condition happens in the shedder system. Then verify those reasons with the availability and performance of the machine and categorize them using the verifications. Then do the Pareto analysis for the found losses from the data to find significant losses. After that, do cause and effect diagrams to find the root causes for each significant losses which have found in the Pareto analysis. Then do the correlation analysis to verify the root causes and the real relationship between the availability and the performance. After that, introduce the possible solutions for selected root causes and implement them in the shedder system and the process. Finally, evaluate the results with the past and the present scenarios. For the Pareto analysis, we have found 5 significant losses. The secondary shedder blade damage, intermediate stoppages, and pre-running of the both shedders, the manual mode running of the pre-shedder, and the too much daily maintenance time are the major losses we have found in the Pareto analysis. For all these significant losses, we have follow above mentioned steps to find the solution to reduce the influence of it. Here, I will explain about one of significant losses in this presentation, and for that I have selected secondary shedder blade damage. When consider the secondary blade damage in 2019 year, the beginning of the year it has less, and end of the year it was increased because due to the inherent issue of the machine and the blades. Also, the amount of the blade damage had a clear relationship between the time consumed to replacement. So we have done the fishbone diagram for the possible reason for the secondary shedder blade damage. As you can see in the figure, the environment factors was the condition inside the machine while it is running. And it is the inherent condition of the machine which cannot be controlled. Also, the feeding material condition also the same like that. It cannot also control. Only the machine and machine methods and the other things can be considered for the study. Here we have found there's the issue in the OEM blades hardness, and the whole blade hardness was at the same level, around 55 to 60 hardness level, which it is made its edge wearing resistant while the inside make it too brittle. And also we have found the damaged blade holder and the ball holes were the other reason for the blade cracking inside while running. Then we have suggest these solutions to reduce the effect of the sudden blade damage by changing the blade turning pattern and also the introducing new design local blade for the secondary shedder. We hope to reduce the sudden blade damage of the secondary shredder. Actually, we could success. We could reduce the blade damage from 2009 to 2021, you can see in this figure, we could reduce it. There's only a few blade loosening incident in 2021 and zero blade damage in 2021. Also, you can see there's a relation between the performance and the availability with the blade damage. Likewise, we've done these steps for the other major losses, and we found a significant reduction of the most of the losses. Here, I can show you other losses also. Results of the other losses. For here, the empty running of the both shredders also gradually reduced during 2020. 2021, and there was also the results of the reduction has a relation between the performance increment. And when considered, the manual mode also has a gradually decreasing from 2009 to 2021, and here both available and the performance have relation with the manual mode reduction. And same like others, the machine daily maintenance also reduced by streamlining the maintenance work, and it could keep all work within 2 to 3 hour works. Earlier it was done 5 to 6 hours sometimes, but right now it reduced to 2 to 3 hours. With all this improvement and initiation to the shredder system, and it process machine availability and the performance increased gradually from 2009 to 2021, as you can see in this performance and availability figures. The most improvement has been happened in the machine performance components, as you can see in these figures. Finally, the total OE of the shredder system was increased, and as you can see in the first figure, also when consider the shredded volume and the shredded feeding volume, the shredded alternative feeding and the shedding also increased, and that means the increment of the shredder OE volume, both production and as well as the kill feeding also increased. And finally, the OE was increased from 49% to 60%. And as a conclusion, there was an inability to cater to the required volume of alternative for the cement plant, the shredder system. But the gap was identified during this study and gave the possible solution for these significant issues one by one. And finally, there was increment in the shredder system or even from 10%, but this is the huge impact for the total shredder system as well as the kill feeding system. It helps to increase the production of the shredder system and the cater to required demand of the alternative for the cement plant. Or as the result of that, the cement plant would reduce the total fuel cost and reduce the traditional coal consumption, and also reduce the energy cost. Also, this helps to reduce the clinker production cost and helps to ultimately increase the company profit. Actually, the shredder alternative fuel supply is depend on the shredder system performance. Due to that, this increment of the OE of the shredder system influence the alternative fuel supply chain. That means that this helps to increase alternative fuel supply for the cement plant as well as the waste acceptance for the waste management plant for the shedding. This helps to gain win-win situation for both companies. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. If you have a question, you can ask.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Prashan Bandara, for this presentation. So I like to have a few questions for you. Actually, this overall equipment effect efficiency, right? So this OEE, in short, what we call, is about mining the underlying losses and to improve the manufacturing process by eliminating the waste observed in the process. So, I like to hear from you on the available time, performance, and quality of this radar system. I think if you mentioned, can you recall that? Then the next question is, when you see OEE, I'm just talking about the basics here. There are 6 big losses, right? Like unplanned stop, planned stop, small stop, slow cycle. There may be production rejects and startup rejects, yeah, if I remember correctly. Okay, so these are the losses. I mean, you could have talked about that 6 big losses in this with respect to the STRATA system, which was under examination, and you could have suggested the countermeasures what you can do. So I like to hear from you these 3 things: APQ, 6 big losses, and countermeasures.
Okay. Yes, sir. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
okay. Okay. For the calculation of actual availability, first of all, consider the physics big losses. For my study, I already consider the 6 big losses because as I'm for my methodology, I also said when I'm doing the analysis part from the data, I collect the all losses from the data and categorize them for the 6 big losses. Here I'm not mentioned here because for this presentation, for my literature studies and also my paper study, I already mentioned that about the 6 big losses. And for the next question, for the OE calculation, sorry sir, for the first question, I couldn't get your first question. Can you repeat it?
No, I like to know about how you calculate the performance and quality.
Sorry, as I mentioned, sir, for the quality, the production of the shader quality, we assume this is the size of for the quality components. The productions, the shader material sizes is the quality components. Okay, sir. So then, when consider the kiln feeding, we are not that much consider the sizes. Because of that, we assume it has 100%. So almost normally it is 25 millimeters, but when we are shredding, it is changed a little bit change from the as outcome. But because of that, we are not consider that part for the calculation. It has to assume as 100% always.
If you consider that as 100% always,
yeah,
then your OE value will not be correct, because OE's definition is what? When availability is 100%, when performance is 100%, and quality is 100%, then you call that system to be 100% operationally. I mean, the overall equipment efficiency is 100%, which is away from the theory, right? I mean, theoretically it's possible, but practically it is not possible. So I think you can rework on the calculations also. But I mean, just maybe you didn't point it out rightly in this presentation. Maybe you have done that in your submitted papers, right? I believe it so. Thank you. So over to Professor Samal. If you have any questions, then we can have Professor Lisa.
Yes, so like I have a couple of questions. Maybe start with your results slide if I not overlap with Dr. Deyakrishna. So how did you obtain these percentage values? Like you had 2 graphs with some visual observations and then some percentage values were there. Your results?
You mean the
in slide number 17, like you had some results with 2 graphs shown with some percentage values. I would like to know how they comes those values.
It's for the you mean the OE results?
Yes.
you mean for 40% and 60%?
Yes,
OE,
yes.
After doing the improvements, we already calculate the OE for the total system. From that, we get the result from the for this average values.
Okay, so another very small one, right? So in slide number 10, like you had shown that one of the criterion as the machine condition, right? So can you little bit explain that? What do you mean by the machine condition perfectly?
You mean the environment factors when I'm doing the fishbone diagram?
Yes. So in they are like
Actually, so in consider this shader system, inside this machine, inherent there's a high corrosive and high vibration and high thermal. So we cannot change this condition because I'm here because of these issues. Also, there will be damages. So because of that, I consider this as a environment factors that we cannot control. Okay, actually this diagram we take is the brainstorm with the operational team and the maintenance team. Because of that, their opinions here, this is considered as an environmental factor we cannot control.
Okay, thanks. So good luck for your future. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. Like, we have any questions from Professor Lisa or from any participants?
I also had two questions regarding the quality component and the environmental consideration, but those two questions were sorted in your discussion in previous discussion. So thank you very much. Let me congratulate the presenter, the presentation. Yeah.
Thank you.
We can move to the panel. Yeah. I would like to hear from the panel.
Yeah. And the panel members, do you have any questions, like the participants or the presenters? If you have any questions, we can continue, or I hope this is the last presentation, Ms. Subodha. Am I right?
Yes, Professor. Yeah, this is the last one.
Yeah, thank you. And I thank all the participants and the presenters who presented in this session. And special thanks to my co-chairs, Mr. Professor Mr. Samal and Ms. Lisa De Silva. Thank you for that. And I thank the conference chair, Mr. Professor, my brother Asela Kulatunga, for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this conference, not only this conference, but of every conference he's organizing for the past 4 years. And I thank CILT for supporting this, University of Paradania, University of Sri Jayavardhani. So Jayavardhanapura, sorry, I just misspelled it. And all these speakers, Professor Nagesh Murthy, Has Destrich, then Hoger Stewart, and after we are going to listen to Gyani Dialvis and Tilbaka. So these eminent professors who are working in the field of logistics and supply chain, we are very much eager to attend these workshops also. Like Professor Asela has nicely organized this workshop on digital supply chain. And today we are going to have this railway freight Sri Lankan case study, which is the area of specializations, right? So he's mastering that. So I also thank all these coordinators, Professor Subodha Dharmapriya for coordinating this session, and the conference secretary who nicely interacted with me throughout this conference. And I have to have information to share with you. So all your papers, the best selected papers of this conference will be published in the special issue, which myself, Professor Fasilina Badruddin, and Professor Taranga Rajabakshe from Australia. So we are editing a special issue on all these papers. The selected best papers of this technical sessions will be published in Journal of Global Operations and Strategic Sourcing, which we got approval, but the publication will not happen very soon. It's going to take some time because of the order of publication, which the journal maintains. So I welcome you all to submit your extended revised version of this paper for the special issue, which is Scopus Index Journal. So we welcome you to submit the revised papers. Okay, thank you. So once again, I thank all these coordinators, especially my brother, Professor Asela Kulatunga, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Jai Krishna, for your compliments. You are always helpful for us. I hope that in future also you will contribute the way you used to do. Thank you very much. And all the others, co-chairs as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Let me also thank Dr. Jai Krishna for your contribution and chairing the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Jai Krishna. So nice
Thank
to
you,
meet you in this online platform. And
Thank you, sir.
so, and also the ICLSE, as always, it's like a father for us, all of us. So it's giving us the opportunities to the young, maybe to the younger generation as well. So Subodha is my colleague. So nice to see you as Lisa as well here. So it was a nice session overall. So even though I'm from transportation, I got so much of experience from this as well. So looking forward to work with you all.
Next time, maybe if possible, we'll meet in person in India or in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
sure.
Every year I celebrate my birthday at Sri Lanka. This time I missed it. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, great. Okay.
Next time we are meeting in Sri Lanka or India, whatever.
Yeah, sure. I have visited Delhi sometimes, but yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Welcome. Anytime you're welcome to my university.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. See.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Professor, and thank you, all co-chairs. Yeah, so
Thank
we
you.
had a
Thank
very, very great time today. And I should also thank all the presenters for sharing their research finding with us. So that makes the session really productive. And I hope they could gain a lot in terms of knowledge, insights, and directions. So all in all, this is really a great session we had. So thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Thank you.